Welcome back to a new week on Out of the Bubble podcast. I hope you're all having a great week and enjoying the rest of your summer. I've been talking and connecting with so many different women this summer, and that have really inspired me, and have left me with lots of food for thoughts, thought-provoking conversations, but generally that feeling of inspiration. And it's a word that we use so often, we hear it bandied around everywhere, but actually I looked it up in the dictionary, and the adjective inspiring is something that causes you to feel confident about yourself or eager to learn to do something. So I really hope, my main aim of this podcast is that the guests that I share with you do those things. They spark something in you that makes you want to go and learn more about it, something that you maybe want to learn more about, that you can make changes to your lifestyle, something that gives you a boost of confidence. So all these women have got amazing stories to share. And I love today's guest. It's somebody that I've connected again through social media. And I love her vibe. I love what she stands for. And she's living an amazing life in the south of France, but she's very candid, she's very authentic, and she shows you that it's just been a roller coaster. And she has gone with that flow. She has had to make and adapt to some huge life changes in her 50s. And she is showing up as her true self and inspiring lots of other women to do themselves. So today we're talking to Honor Marks. Grab a coffee, enjoy, and imagine living in the south of France. So good morning to the gorgeous Honor this morning, on a bright and sunny morning in France. How are you doing this morning, Honor?
Well, thank you for that. Good morning to you. And I am hot and sweaty and dripping, and it's not that pleasant. So I'm sitting here looking, but actually I'm really, really hot right now. Not a drop of rain since June. It's pretty heavy going, actually.
Yeah, well,
But I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the joys of living in France, but obviously there is downsides to it. It's not all glamorous, but we'll get into that later, I am sure. But thank you so much for joining me. You are somebody that we've connected fairly recently, and I love what you stand for. I love the work that you're doing and your whole vibe. So I knew I had to get you on, and yeah, it's brilliant. So I start with the same question to all my guests. How would you describe yourself in 3 words, and why?
Well, that's really interesting, actually, because you had sort of suggested, I've seen your podcast, so I know that's what you ask, and my first word that I would describe myself is loyal. But when I mentioned that to some friends, I said, no, Anna, that you sound like a dog. So that's not really what I want to sound like. So I think I would describe myself as gregarious. I'm I am quite confident. I do feel the fear, and I do feel the fear. It's not feel the fear and do it anyway. I actually do feel the fear, but you just got to kind of roll with it, right? That would be number 1. And number 2 would be resourceful, because I had a big plot twist curveball thing happen to me on my 50th, literally around my 50th birthday. And all of a sudden I had to do things completely differently. So I had 2 ways to go, either downwards or upwards. I'm not very handy, but I'm very good at delegation, man management, and finding solutions, networking, that sort of stuff. And the third one, probably if you were to ask people how they would describe me, bossy. I like to think that it's about sort of, well, it's going back to delegation, really, isn't it? It's sort of, telling people how to do it, but doing it nicely. But also, I'm a little bit of a control freak. I like things done quite well, particularly when I'm running my gites. It has to be so, of course. Yeah. But it's because I really want, my intentions are good. It's because I want everyone to have a really good time. So I am trying to be altruistic in my bossiness. So there's 3.5 if you count my loyalty, because I think I am quite loyal.
I think loyalty is a really good trait. I don't think it makes you sound like a dog at all. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. And before we get to the nitty-gritty of life changes and curveballs, I suppose we need to start with a bit of a backstory, really, of how you've got to where you are now and where you live and what you do, just in case people don't know anything about you. Where would you start?
Well, here I am, 57-year-old woman here living in the south of France, but that was never my dream. So my background is, if we roll backwards, I come from Broadstairs in Kent. I lived in London when I was 20 onwards for 20 years, and then 15 years ago moved here. My background is always been sales. Actually, I was a recruitment consultant, both in IT and banking, I didn't know a damn thing about IT or banking, couldn't understand what the hell those words meant, but it's all about the people. And I could always find the right person for the right company and the right company for the right person. That's how I felt that was my skill set. And I did that for far too long, to be fair. And then after that, I kind of like realized when my bosses shafted me, actually, I made them all multimillionaires, but they didn't look after their people at all. And I left and took a massive pay cut and went into selling IT solutions, no idea what I was talking about. And then actually doing something I really did enjoy, selling loungewear, silk loungewear, which actually we designed, manufactured, retailed, wholesaled. But I went into business with a best friend that I'd forgotten that we used to argue like cats and dogs when we were kids at school. And I went into business with her. So that probably wasn't the best thing to do. But I learned, I took a massive cut in salary, like 100% cut in salary, literally, and lived off savings, but I enjoyed, and look, my learning curve went up. So I feel that, it filled out all the other bits and pieces that I hadn't done because I've been so long in recruitment. Yeah. Never went to university, but I did go backpacking when I was in my late 20s to Central and South America, got held up by gunpoint. Ooh. I used to run a kissogram company when I was 19. My father was hugely embarrassed about that, and it was only a kiss on the cheek, nothing more untoward, I can assure you. And I used to love dancing. I was in Mildred Campbell's Rainbow Troupe, very, very unfamous, but I just love those words, Mildred Campbell's Rainbow Troupe, makes me laugh. Tap, twist, tap, shuffle, still can do it, still got it. Except now I dance like a dad. I actually dance like a dad. Moved to France, that wasn't my dream. It was my ex-husband's dream. He wanted to shake the family up, move from my beautiful house in London, in Battersea, and do something creative. And I thought, well, okay, he supported me whilst I was doing the silk business, emotionally, not necessarily financially. So we sold up and moved to France. And it was difficult for me because I was giving up my beautiful home, friends, and leaving my widowed mom, which kind of broke my heart a bit, really. But we chose the south of France because ultimately it's not that far away. And aside from a pandemic or an ash cloud, you can actually drive to the south of France in a day. So I could be home to my mum really quickly. But the south of France because of sunshine. So it was his dream, not mine. But here we are, and I made the most of it. And now, I'm fully embracing it, obviously. Here I am.
So how old were you at that point when you first moved there?
I was, if I'm 57 now, I was about 42.
Right.
42, okay. So
well,
yeah.
It is a huge move, and like you say, now you've really fully embraced it and you love your life there.
Absolutely. What was lovely in a respect was my daughter was 4 at the time, 4.5, and she's fully bilingual now, and she speaks English with an English accent, French with a French accent, and she's been educated in France. We are actually applying for our French nationality, the two of us, so that we can have dual citizenship, because I want her to be European. Let's not go there. But that's really important to me. I love the fact that we are in Europe, and I wanted us to always be able to be in Europe. So that might be a contentious subject, but that was a very, very good bonus bringing her here at that age.
Well, what did you learn about yourself in those first kind of few years there, starting afresh, really, could you speak French before you went there?
I had done French at A level, which is obviously a long time ago, and I had had a few private French lessons when I got here, and not immediately, but I did go to have French lessons. We just, we had Babelfish or something. Google Translate wasn't really kind of trendy at the time, but there was something. But I managed to get by. My ex did, well, he's a builder, so he did all the building work, but I was his building bitch. And I was also, looked after our daughter, and I did all the admin, and I did everything else around it. But I did a lot of pointing as well. I don't mean that kind of pointing, the delegation, which I'm quite good at, as discussed earlier, but also the pointing of the brick walls and things like that, which are behind me. And I learnt. It was a very difficult year, the first year. The first year was transitional for anyone looking to move. It is hard, that first year, and getting to grips with it all. But once we found our property and I could start nesting and kind of creating, and I did learn new skills. You learn to be resourceful again. I'd always worked in the city in London, in high heels and shoulder pads and worked in that kind of corporate environment, and all of a sudden I'm wearing Wellington boots and a pair of shorts and I've got cement on my nose. I wish Instagram had been around in those days, because the renovation project would have been one of those accounts that people, we did actually write a blog actually, which I stopped writing when in 2012 when my mum died, because I lost my mojo. But so people were following us on the blog, and I remember having our very first gite guest in one of our gites that a week before they'd been following us on the blog, and all they'd seen was timber frames and nothing, and they'd booked this holiday. And when he turned up grinning kind of like worriedly, because he'd been following our blog, we had finished it 1 hour and 17 minutes before they arrived, or something like that. Really close. So we learned about deadlines. I kind of have this attitude, and and I'm taking it forward. It's like, build it and they will come, or not fake it till you make it. But I used to put pictures of what I thought I'd decorate or dress my existing bedroom in the house to say to gite guests, this is what your gite's going to look like. Have faith in me, because it's going to look like this. And they booked the gites on the basis of that. But I was always honest, always transparent. But it's kind of like, this is what it's going to be. So and then we got the bookings in and then finished it. So make something happen, or do it and then do the work afterwards, if you know what I mean. You need deadlines in life, I think.
Yeah, it seems to me that's really been one of your strengths through all of this. And you kind of thought that your life, that was it, you were all in a comfortable position and things were going well. And then what happened kind of around your 50th? Because life changed dramatically, didn't it?
It did. I mean, to be honest, if I'm really, really honest, I actually knew that my marriage wasn't great, if I'm honest. But I'm one of these sort of people that failure is an option. I've sold up, I've moved everywhere, I've lived in France, all my family there. I have friends here, but it's got to work. And I really tried hard. But around literally just about 4 days after my 50th, we went on a holiday of a lifetime. I planned it. We were going to Vietnam, and literally 6 days into it, he told me it was over. And I am in this country with our 12-year-old daughter. And it's a difficult country, Vietnam. It's not an easy country. And my world exploded. And we sort of somehow managed to carry on that holiday, not letting our daughter know what was going on. But I was crumbling inside, sending emails to people telling them what had happened. And then actually, unfortunately, the day I got back, I found out that actually there had been somebody else involved, albeit that she lived in the UK and maybe they hadn't had a real sort of physical relationship, but there was a connection. And he had written, and I found out, I don't ever look at other people's emails, but at this time I was desperate. So I checked an email of his, because I could, because we were married and we had no secrets, I didn't think. And I saw that he'd, on my actual birthday, my 50th birthday, he'd written to his friend saying he was going to split up with me in Vietnam. And it's like, you cannot know, or of course you can know, people can know, only people that have gone through that can completely understand how devastating that is. My carpet was pulled from underneath my feet and I just didn't know what to do. My knee-jerk reaction was, that's it, sell the house, go back to England. My mum had died, but I had 2 brothers there, friends there. It's within my comfort zone, the UK. Here it's still, my French is not bad, but it's not my first language. But you know what, Holly was settled in school, and we had built this business up and it was beginning to flourish, the gite business, and I thought, well, no, I've got to, I can't run back. Then what then? So I just kept going. And again, there's 2 ways, up or down. It's easy, isn't it? But actually it's easier to go up than it is to go down. Really, it is.
And it's really interesting. I was talking to somebody the other day about this, about taking responsibility for your own actions, and you have a choice at that point, don't you? You do have a choice of what you're going to do, and it's about suddenly taking responsibility for that and taking action on it. And yes, that could be really scary and hard to do, can't it? Though?
And also, my daughter Holly, her life had been, blown apart already. I didn't need to make it any more difficult. The consistency of school was important for her. It was very, very hard, and that year was one of the worst years of my life. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But you just get to one step at a time, one day at a time, one breath at a time.
Yeah. I used to have a thing that sat on my bed that said, "This soon shall pass,"
Yes.
just to remind me, just
Yeah.
to just to get through each day and know that
Yeah.
you're heading in the right direction. I
It's
love
not.
you
It's not.
now. You're
Yes.
flourishing now.
Well, thank you. It's not over. I mean, whilst I'm divorced, unfortunately, we have a massive financial battle on our hands. And that's another story for another day, because I'm going through it right now. So I daren't speak too much about
Yes.
it, but it isn't pleasant. I
Mm.
still have a massive elephant in my room right now.
Yeah.
But, and I refer to it occasionally. Again, I don't want to pretend that all is rosy. I'm
Yeah.
very honest about it. But I compartmentalize it and try not to let it ruin my day to day.
Mm.
And again, I live that day. I try to live my best life, and then I will try to manage things that are in my control, and things that are outside of my control, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. And are you kind of, how are you on your menopause journey with all this as well? Because you've got all this going on, you've had all this going on, but also you've had the physical changes of the menopause and what that does to your brain. What kind of impact has that had on you?
Well, I think I've sailed, or I am sailing through menopause reasonably well. I do have the 4 o'clock wakey uppies.
Mm.
I have a terrible memory, but I think I've always had a terrible memory. I did go to the doctor a few years ago and said my memory is terrible. I'm really worried I have Alzheimer's, because my dad had it, my mother's mother had it, and my mum had vascular dementia after a stroke. They both had strokes. And it's worrying. He made me do all these little exercises, which I managed to do, and then we discussed my age. I thought, well, hang on, it's probably menopause.
Mm.
So yes, I am the typical go up the stairs to do something and forget what the hell I went up there for. But I
Yeah.
know I'm not alone. What I love about sort of social media is that I really know I'm not alone. That's such a major thing.
Yeah.
I don't particularly suffer from hot flashes, but right now I am. But that's nothing to do with a hot flash. That's just 38 degrees of humidity here. And what else? Can't remember. There you go. There's a symptom. Can't remember.
But
Um,
like you said, it's that feeling of knowing that you're not alone. There is, social media is fantastic for that.
it
For
really
our age
is.
group at the moment, there's a real sense of community, isn't there? Which I think
I
is
think
really
so.
great.
I think so. And people like you and me and others are really, really helping that as well. I have remembered one other thing, the weight. Now, fair enough. As much as I always did, and I'm at the moment not doing any exercise because it's too hot,
Mm.
but I do a bit. But your body does change, and I'm trying on all these dresses. My breasts have just got huge, and my rib cage has definitely got wider, because
Yeah.
there's not fat here. So it's got to be, that. I hate that. It means I have to go shopping again for more clothes.
But the stuff that you post on Instagram, I love. I love your vibe. I love the way that you present yourself. You really come across authentically, and I do think the more we do that, and the more we show up as ourselves, completely owning it, then the more we can inspire other women to be comfortable at this stage of life. Because it's hard for some people to adapt to that change, isn't it?
I think so. And I know you do it too. When I interviewed you recently, I put a picture of you and me in our bikinis.
Yeah.
And I've done quite a few things in bikinis. And I've had so many DMs from women saying, thank you so much. I've put on a bikini. I had a guest here in my Gites who literally said, thanks to you, I've just put on a bikini for first time in 18 years. So,
Yes.
it's because so it's all about social pressure. And we used to have Grazia magazine that kind of did our heads in, and now we have Instagram and all sorts of other platforms that do our heads in, that you have to, and filters and all this awful stuff, and that make us think we're not good enough. You have to look like that. One other thing, which is a big bit of a thing for me, is I know Botox, all that kind of stuff, because people seem to think we have to look young all the time. It's actually okay to get older, and you can put
Yeah.
as much Botox in your face or whatever, but you're still going to get older. So what can you do about it? You have to embrace it. You just have to embrace it. We're going to get old. We're going to die.
Yeah.
And you can put all the stuff in your face or do all this. I mean, yes, I do dye my hair and put on makeup to enhance myself, but trust me, you'll be thankful for that when you watch this back later. But all the other stuff, and trying to be something, just be who you are and love who you are, because the most, I think, sexiest or loveliest thing in the world is that inner confidence of just knowing who you are.
Yeah, absolutely, because it shines through that inner
Yeah.
confidence. And talking of social media, you've kind of had another blip that you couldn't really control. Is when the pandemic came along, and COVID, obviously, business kind of
Oh,
stopped because people couldn't travel.
that's
So then what do you do? What kind of what direction do you go in? That was a real curveball, but what did you do?
What did I do? Well, actually, funny enough, I have got an amazing coach. Her name is Janie Holiday. She's been my coach for many, many years in terms of fitness, and health and food and nutrition and mindset. She helped me get me through my divorce with the mindset, and also now business mindset. She's evolved, and I've evolved with her. And I remember when all my bookings were tumbling down, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it wasn't just the money, it's what am I going to do with my time? Holly and I are locked in here for however long. She had to finish her baccalaureate online, and I thought I need to do something. And I said to Janie and a few of the girls in the group, what do I do? And they said, well, we like your Instagram. Why don't you show other people how to do it? And at that point, I was getting quite majority of my bookings for my gites through Instagram, because I showcased the area and stuff like that. And I did have a huge imposter syndrome. Well, hang on, there's loads of coaches out there. I'm not qualified in terms of, I haven't done any courses. Mind you, there were any courses then for Instagram. I'm not sure. Anyway, I had all these years and years of experience, and I suppose, again, the kind of confidence. So I started coaching people in that, and that's evolved as well. And to be honest, it was pin money really, because I didn't charge hardly anything, because I didn't believe I could, although I have to my prices up since. But it filled my time. But the most important thing, Rachel, was that it was being a role model to my daughter as well. Yeah. I didn't want my, at that stage, 17-year-old daughter to see mummy crumble again. And I wanted to show her that we just pull up our big girl pants, don't we, and get on with it. So it was being that role model that was really important to me.
It's really interesting you just said then about not charging as much because you didn't believe you could. It takes work, doesn't it, to get to that point where you can really put yourself at a point where you value the work that you're doing, and you've got the confidence to go with that. Is that increasing the older you get? Do you feel more confident too?
I think it is. I mean, when you get to my age, our age, in the 50s, how many years experience have we got? And I remember as a recruitment consultant, and it was actually, I stole it from a quote from what's his name? The chap who did, who played Alfie, very famous actor. Anyway,
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine, thank you. And I've used this in my business as well, where Michael Caine got a film, and literally went to his agent, said, get me a film. Agent picked up the phone, got him a film, got him several million. He charged, however, £2 million commission for his work. And Michael Caine said, how can you charge that much for one phone call? And the agent said, it's the 20 years of knowing which phone calls to make that got me that one phone call. And I remember I did this with a client. I'd sent them literally, I think, one CV, and that one CV, they interviewed that person got the job. And when I put my bill in, she goes, how can you charge me 20% of his first year annual salary? I said, because I knew which one CV to send you. I didn't waste your time. It's a bit like that. I've been working on and off, since I was 14, really, as a waitress, and further on. I have done so many things. I've met so many people. I do know what I'm talking about now, and I do have that gravitas. I think we all do. It's not just me. When you get to age, so people forget that, but we've done a lot. Even if you just, done one job only, or you were a mom or whatever, that's a job, and within that job, there's so many skills that you accrue. And I have had a lot of jobs in the real wild world. Can't get my words out. Real wide world. There you go. And that gives you, I don't need a degree to do social media coaching. I don't need anything. We're very highly employable, our age group.
That's the thing that's most frustrating, I think, for me, is the lack of representation for our age group, and the fact that we've got such an amazing skill set to offer society, and yet it's still not valued, and it's so frustrating to get past that. And I guess it's again because it's a male orientated society, and we've still got a long way to go, haven't we?
Oh my goodness. And sometimes I look at this world and I think we're going backwards, so it freaking frightens me. But I mean, I know you're really good at that, but I yes, again, and I know you put a post the other day, but I just this morning scrolling through, spent too much time on my phone scrolling through, there was an advert for anti-wrinkle. It was on an 18-year-old. That is so, are they stupid? But we have got to stop buying those creams and those products as well. You know, we really, really do. And I really refuse. I don't want to buy a product that says anti-wrinkle. And if they use a 20 or 30-year-old model, you know, we have got to stop that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. Alex Light, I don't know if you follow Alex Light on Instagram, but she's
Yes.
a young lady. She's still a post recently this week, and she's listed all the people that are behind the diet industry, and they're all men. And we've got to stop paying them because they're just
Yes.
making billions off our own insecurities that they created in the first place.
I remember I lost £8 on a book I bought about a high cholesterol diet. The £8 was the actual £8 I spent on the book. I didn't actually lose any weight. And ironically, the bloke who wrote that book, very famous, can't remember his name, he died of a heart attack. Hello, it was a high fat diet. Hello. So, you know, but we enable that. So we've got to stop enabling that. Stop buying those stupid books. Just eat sensibly and move more, she says.
Yes. Yeah, both of us this week talking about moving more. But I know you're going to the beach and you do a lot of swimming, don't you? So it's about finding the things that bring you joy as well, isn't it?
I don't do as much swimming as one might think, actually. Splashing, I think you'll find. But I go through phases. Walking is my thing, but in the winter now, it's just this weather, it's just ridiculous. So yes, I will be going to.
Just for out of intrigue, really, because you know, people think about how kind of beautiful it must be to live in the south of France and what kind of lifestyle you have. But what's a kind of typical day for you?
Well, I am very spoiled at the moment because I have somebody helping me. I found her on Instagram actually, and she came to help me doing a retreat I held in March, and she was so amazing. And I had to do packed lunches, and she baked cakes. That was good. But I said, "Can you come if you'd like to come back?" And she runs a B&B, and she's put her B&B as a kind of a house let and come to help me before I get out of bed, even in the morning. She's done so many things for me. But a typical day for somebody, and it could be me, it'll be, you know, getting that swimming pool ready for the guests and making sure the outside area looks lovely and hanging out washing and all that kind of household stuff as well. And you know, I have to say that during the week in high season, actually, it is pretty free. Once we've done lots of morning chores, I mean, it would be normally watering gardens and weeding and stuff, but everything's dead at the minute, and I don't really want to water anything because I think it's kind of a bit irresponsible to use at the moment. But once all the chores are done, our days are free. It's the weekends where it gets a bit crazy with changeover, and it is hard work. Where it can be a little bit traumatic is I'm running this business on my own. Yes, I do have help and delegate, and you know, I have to get people in, but I'm running it on my own. When I was running it with my ex, we were a team. He was a builder, so anything went wrong got fixed immediately. Now I just panic, have a churny stomach, and then think, okay, but make a phone call. Let's get on with this. Find somebody after the initial churn. And you know, if things do go wrong. I mean, I've had hot water tanks stop working during season. I am extremely lucky. I get really lovely guests. And therefore those guests are generally understanding because they're decent people. I think you attract, and obviously the prices might indicate, the location indicates, the type of holiday indicates the kind of person that respects, and they understand when things go wrong. So I've never really had any problems with guests, but it is still a weight, and running a business on your own is very lonely. Making all those decisions is hard. I have got a lovely French boyfriend, but it's not his business, it's mine. I have to make all the decisions on my own, and it's difficult. That is where the weight happens. It does get very heavy sometimes when things go wrong, and making decisions about quite big things. And you know, the grass is not greener here. In fact, it's actually very brown right now, but literally you have the same dog shit on both sides of the fence. You really do. So people think, oh, she's living the dream. And I have done a series of reels recently where I'm kind of, you know, there I am, look, there's me in the swimming pool floating along while somebody else is doing all the work. I mean, you know, that might have been true for that particular day, but you know, it's not like that. There's still loads of stuff to deal with. French bureaucracy, taxes, social charges. Trust me, I do get a lot of people saying, I want to move out of here, do it, but talk to me first.
We're going to have that conversation because that's because I have had a house in France. I used to have a house near La Rochelle with my previous marriage, and I loved that lifestyle. And my dad and France have lived in France for 30 years, so it is on my radar. So we will have that conversation at some point on, or I shall be tapping you up.
But you need to get down here and do it over glass of wine, I think, probably.
That sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And let's talk about finding love later in life as well. How's that kind of experience been? Is that something that you're really enjoying? Has it been an easy kind of?
You know what? Yes. I mean, I at 50 you think, oh my God, now what? You know, the world has changed. I didn't meet my ex actually till quite late. I was 36 when I met him. So, you know, I had done a lot of sort of other relationships, playing, you know, having
Yeah.
fun out there before I met him. But I thought this was it. I thought that would be it forever. So all of a sudden you're grieving for the future you're not going to have, you know, and it's like, oh my God. And I'm 50, you know, who's going to be interested in a 50-year-old? Plus you look around on the internet and I mean, God, have you ever gone online?
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds really, really rude, but my God. And they're all salacious and sort of, you know, all into sort of sex stuff and stuff like that. It's just horrible. But the one actual silver lining is actually I did lose a lot of weight during the stress of the separation, and actually kind of felt rather good. And my first fling was with a 36-year-old bodybuilder, so that was quite good.
Yeah.
But actually I did go online, and he will deny that he was looking for anything. Fred, his name is, he is actually a web developer, and I know nobody's going to believe this, but you've got to speak to him to believe it, but he says he was literally on there because he was just testing out applications as a web developer, he says. But
Right.
he just come out of a 14-year relationship. He certainly didn't want one, and he didn't, he's a nice looking chap. He didn't need to you know, and he's local, so he knew people.
Yeah.
But he put a dreadful picture of himself up there because he wasn't looking. What attracted me to him was the fact that he had 2 Pyrenean mountain dogs, and I had at the time a Pyrenean mountain dog. So anyone who liked Pyrenean mountain dogs, they're already my friend. And then I swiped, and he had a London black cab. Oh my God, I have so many fond memories of London black cabs. And then I swiped, and he had a white Rolls Royce, which, you know, I'm not that bothered about, but he obviously liked English things. And we started chatting for absolutely ages, because ultimately I wasn't going to let anyone come into my home or to my life when I had a now 13-year-old daughter. You know, it had to be, if I was going to take it anywhere, I had to be absolutely sure.
Yeah.
But not once did we had lovely conversations, but not once did he flirt with me. There was no salaciousness, there was nothing. In the end, I had to ask him if he was gay, because it couldn't possibly be me. So he laughed, and he told me that he wasn't gay, but yes, if we'd like to meet for lunch, we could. So he wasn't really interested. He wasn't looking for anything. He just was playing with the platform. So we met for lunch. For him, it was a coup de foudre, he says. Love at first sight.
Beautiful.
For me, it took a little longer, but there you go. It was a slow burn, but it works. So, you know, yes, and I have to say that he is the man I should have probably met all those years ago. I wouldn't have my daughter, but he is the man.
Yeah.
Although
that's just such a great kind of, yeah, that's such a great positive story about being online, because I met Mark, my husband, on Match.com as well. And we had an amazing conversation one night and didn't talk. We did kind of, I was in Yorkshire with 3 kids. He was in London. It was like, this is just not going to work. But we talked on Facebook for 6 months and then finally met. And then it was that was it. I just knew. So I think women need to not be frightened to go out there. Yes, it is. So. There are lots of pitfalls and there are lots of dodgy people out there, but equally there are some really good ones.
I think so. Did you move to Yorkshire or did he come down?
He came to, yeah. So he worked in London and came home at weekends for quite a long time, until COVID really. And now he's here full time, so yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Nice.
So
we don't live together, by the way. I do wonder if that is why it works so well as well. But he lives nearly 2 hours away. He comes most weekends, every weekend actually. But we don't live together, and I think because my daughter's gone to university, but she comes back quite often. I've got my gite business here.
Yeah.
It's much hotter where I live than where he lives. He prefers winter. I prefer summer. So it works well as well. So but we don't. Who knows what will happen in the future? And I also say, don't take things for granted. I think you get into this kind of. I just don't think we can take things for granted. We don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah. And I'm guessing through all of this sense of community with other women has been a massive help for you getting through the kind of the lows as well as the highs, and that seems to be something that you're really passionate about, a community. And obviously you mentioned about retreats that you do at the G. So what do they look like?
Well, I'm hosting my very first on my own. I've kind of facilitated retreats before, yoga retreats, angel retreats, or different kinds of retreats. But this one will be one I'm hosting. It's called the Magical Midlife Retreat. But there will be wine. I do live in the largest wine producing region in the world.
It would be rude not to.
Yeah, it would be rude not to. But I've kind of put an itinerary together. It is fully booked, and I'm hoping to do more and more. But what I would love to do is collaborate with people like you, actually, and all other people, and have themes and do different themes. This one we're going to be doing. There's going to be a Reiki person that will come and do massages and sort of breathing exercises. But we're doing a food and wine pairing cookery day as well. We'll go for beautiful hikes. But I did an informal retreat earlier this year. I organised something and a whole bunch of women came together, and we, around the dinner table, when women talk, you can open up, almost when it's a stranger, you kind of open up more, and it's cathartic. And I also think there's a good energy around here. I'm told so often, I'm not really into all that stuff, if I'm honest, the woo-woo stuff, but people tell me there's good energy here. They just come here and they can let it all out, and and leave slightly more energized, motivated, their mojo's found. And I think, when women come together, magical things do happen. I'm a great supporter of small businesses. I'm a small business. I appreciate every support bit I get, every bit of share, every like, everything. And I would do the same, and I do the same like you. I interview women in small businesses, or women who've inspired me, because if they've inspired me, they're going to inspire other people too. Surround yourself. I had a boss who was a bit, I don't know if you can say that on the podcast, but you can edit that bit out if you can't say it.
You can,
but
it's fine by me.
One good thing he once said to me was, when you build a team, surround yourself by excellence and you will be excellent. And you do that with your friends, you do that with people. So, get around people that, like-minded people. And it doesn't mean, they may not be in the same place where you are now, but they will be. If they surround themselves with people like you, they're going to be. And you surround yourself, just get all these people around you, and good things happen, I think.
Creating that ripple effect, isn't it?
Say again?
Creating a ripple effect.
Absolutely that. So yes.
So what's next for you? It seems to be that you've got, lots of ambition and drive, and there's no stopping you now. So what's next? What are your ambitions and dreams for the future?
Well, the thing is, I don't really know what I want to be when I grow up. I've never known what I want to be when I grow up. I don't know when I'm going to grow up. But I do have as much energy, if not more than ever, in a way. And again, my business mentor, coach, Janie, she's been saying to me for years, Honor, you should be doing something online. I did have a side hustle years ago of doing decluttering life laundry. I've actually got a website called lifelaundress.com actually still. And I love that. But it's not just the physical getting stuff out of your life, it's and simplifying and organizing, it's the mental and emotional effect it has as well. So I'm always kind of like thinking of how I know she said I should have put that online, but I just couldn't get my head around it. So we were kind of discussing, what can I do online more, because who knows, a pandemic might happen again. But she said one of the things that you are good at, Honor, is networking and bringing people together. And I do love bringing people together, introducing them to each other and what have you. And so I'm thinking, I am going to build a membership community, and it would be a paid membership community where I hope people will come together in my Facebook group, and but I will bring together amazing people like yourself to come and do guest talks rather. And it could be everything that a midlife woman needs or doesn't even know she needs in her life. And there will be sort of Q&As and all sorts of things, but a community. So that's what I want to do. I want to build a midlife community of people and bring really good people together, and everybody. And I'm always looking for future guest speakers, who also have a business to promote themselves, so they can come and do a talk. It's not a sales talk, but it will be a good TED talk sort of thing, or Q&A. but they'll be promoting their opportunities as well. So we're bringing all these people together. So it's a win-win for everybody, really.
Yeah.
It's a safe place. It's a safe place for women to come to, where they can, literally just let it all out, hang out if they want to. And I would like to also do that in physical retreats as well, more and more of those.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're going to have your hands full, and I have no doubt it's going to be a success, because you.
Well, I still have to map it out a bit, but yes, yeah. Thank you.
How can people find out about you, Anna? Where can they go about the retreats, about the gites, and also about your personal stuff?
I think the best place is my Instagram account, to be honest. I am, it used to be called Maison de la Roche for my gites, but I've evolved and I changed it about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago to Honestly with Honor. Honestly, because I do lots of interviews as well, and it's all about honesty and being honest, and also because I'm quite honest and I like to think I am authentic. So it's evolved, and I talk about my gites there, and occasionally about the Instagram coaching, less so recently because I've been focusing on the gites, but I will be building up that kind of, and I talk about confidence there as well. So I think Honestly with Honor on Instagram is the correct place to find me, and send me a DM and I will get back to you straight away. I'm quite good at getting back straight away.
Yeah, brilliant. I will share that with me in the show notes. And my last question that I ask all my guests, because I'm trying to encourage women to accept and be more complimentary about themselves. If you could pay yourself a compliment, what would it be?
I like to think I am a great advocate for supporting women, supporting other women in business or in midlife or just in general. I think that's quite good at that. And I don't really know, actually. I'm a bikini wearing champion. I let it all hang out. It's like, again, it's a mantra that my business coach or my mindset coach sort of taught me. What other people think of me is none of my business. And as long as we can keep, it's very much a well-used line now, but I like to think that I'll tell you a little story, a little anecdote. When I was at secondary school, there was a girl called Sharon Kennedy. Sharon Kennedy, if you're out there listening, I want to hear from you. She taught me everything, and I mean everything, Rachel. I didn't know half the stuff happened. Anyway, one of the things, she didn't care. She had a no care attitude. I loved her. And one thing she would used to say was, well, they're not paying for my dinner. That's what I want to say. So the question you asked is a compliment. I've kind of put lots of words in that, but it's sort of like, well, I have a kind of a don't care. I mean, I do care, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of I am confident within myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not allowing other people's judgments to get into that headspace, which is really important. Honestly, I'm so glad that you and I have connected. Well, I'm sure we will have lots more conversations to come.
I hope so.
I've already been having little moments whilst you've been talking, thinking about, I must talk to Honor about that. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
I'm honoured to enjoy the rest of the day at the beach.
I'm going to the beach. Yes, I shall think of you when I'm lying there. But thank you so much. I'm really, really flattered to be invited on this podcast.
No, pleasure. Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Another great conversation, and Honor just leaves me. She's one of these people that always leaves me smiling. I really enjoy talking to Honor and following her on social media. So go and look her up, and I'll share all the links as well. If you would like to make some changes and you want to know more about what it's like living in France, go and follow Honor, because she's a great place to start. And I'm sure that Honor and I are going to be having lots of conversations about future collaborations. She's definitely somebody that's in my radar now. So lots to think about. And it's interesting that she was talking about wearing bikinis on holiday and letting it all kind of hang out and be herself. And at the moment I'm connecting with lots of women through a midlife body confidence survey. And I would love for you to take part in it. The more women I can reach with this survey, the more conversations hopefully I can create with the press, with brands, and to just show how that midlife women are so often left out of this body confidence conversation. So at the moment I've got 180 women so far have completed the survey. It takes a few minutes out of your time, but if you have the time, I will leave the links in the notes. Go follow me on social media, it's in my link tree, but I would love for you to complete it. If you are over 40 and you are a woman and you would like to fill in a survey about midlife body confidence, please go and do it for me. It would be amazing. The more women we can reach, then obviously it will be fantastic to get those results in, and I will be sharing them next month. I will be back in a fortnight, but in the meantime, keep being fabulous.